on the global economy, and in particular on the Spanish economy, we see this gathering as a time to kind of reflect on what needs to be done, what has been done, and what needs to be done to keep in the right path. And we can't look at Spain only for its beautiful beaches, varied gastronomy, and diverse culture. But on a corporate level, Spain has much more to offer. And given the upcoming keynote, what he is to New York City, I have a series of examples to present to you. For example, the expansion of the New York subway system is being developed by a Spanish corporation. The street furniture in the city is manufactured and installed by a Spanish firm. And most of the fashion you observe on the street, and actually I'm wearing a Sarah jacket, is brought to you by a Spanish retail chain. So now with Mayor Bloomberg here, for example, in New York City, the way I see it is that he has been a strong supporter, a loyal supporter of tech startups, companies in the city. And this is a field that has been mined in recent years by young Spanish geniuses, some of whom you'll have the pleasure to meet in a later session. And also, the Bloomberg administration knows the value, the measurable value of the immigrant minds that comes here with fresh ideas, new ideas to contribute to the growth of the economy. And also, as a journalist perspective, we'll see, in addition to all this, of course, in almost every press conference that I have to translate for the Spanish-speaking viewers in New York One Noticias, of course, simultaneously up until he actually speaks in Spanish. ¿Lo han escuchado hablar español? And this is funny because I was just commenting with Chasia that back in 2005, I believe, you made a New Year's resolution to learn Spanish. And 8 years later, here he is, and every Hurricane Sandy or this natural disaster, he is speaking Spanish to our Spanish-speaking viewers. And I can tell for sure our community, our Hispanic community, is very thankful, and we really appreciate his effort for doing this and try to communicate and reach out to our community in our language. Mayor Michael Bloomberg.
Well, resto de mi vida. Gracias, Carlet. A todos nuestros estimados invitados, bienvenidos a Nueva York. Nuestra ciudad es su ciudad. In the unlikely case that Carlet does not speak Spanish, or that there are a few of you here who do not, I will go on in English, but let me point out that Spanish is the second language in New York City. And yes, unfortunately, I have a Colombian abogado, a Colombian lawyer, who is my Spanish instructor. He is very demanding, and my accent stinks, he says, but that's okay. I have determined that I will speak Spanish like a native and hit a golf ball like a professional before I die, which will ensure a very long life at the rate I'm going. Anyways, you should know also that my connections to Spain extend on Broadway as well. I appeared in a production of Man of La Mancha a few years ago, but like trying to be a nice person, I won't sing for you today. But I will tell you that our administration's association with Spain and the business of Spain go far deeper than just a Broadway show. We are, for example, as Carlet mentioned, very pleased with our historic partnership with one of the sponsors of today's forum and one of the world's leading outdoor advertising companies, Samusa. Our street furniture agreement with them is the largest of its kind in any city in the world. And they're beautifully designed, you can get it, sit there. Their beautifully designed bus shelters and other structures are very attractive additions to our cityscape and help the vibrant life of our streets. We also have innovative new pedestrian plazas we've created in New York in recent years, in Times Square most notably, but they are actually based on public spaces in Rambla in Barcelona and Puerta del Sol in Madrid. And while those of you from Spain, we want you to come and make you feel at home. We also want you to spend a lot of money while we're here. That's the way we pay our people. We are also proud that an alumnus of our organization, our former Commissioner of Environmental Protection, is here today representing a major Spanish-based engineering firm. Chris Ward. Chris, where are you? Came in with me, way in the back. Chris is the Executive Vice President of Dragados USA. In fact, Chris will be on the panel that follows me this morning, and he's going to focus on how Spanish industries can get ahead of the game. I'm sure, of course, that Chris will tell you one way for any firm to get ahead of the game is doing business in the most international city in the world, our city. And I thought I'd just spend a few minutes trying to give you 3 reasons why. First, we have the largest and strongest markets in the United States. There are something like 8.4 million people in 5 boroughs in New York City, and that's more than any time in our history, and our population continues to grow at a brisk pace. As a matter of fact, there are more New Yorkers employed in New York City than ever before in history. Our New York population is very diverse, as is our economy. We have come back far more rapidly from the recession in 08 and 09, and we have far more rapidly than any other part, really, of the United States. Last year, we set a new record for private sector employment, and we recently revised up our forecast for continued job growth in 2013. So while there are plenty of cities in America and plenty of cities around the world, sadly, who are struggling to provide jobs for their people, New York City is lucky enough to have been able to do so. Historically, New Yorkers make up some, Hispanic New Yorkers make up some 28% of our population. They have nearly $31 billion in annual purchasing power, and they are a particularly young population. 42% of them are under the age of 25. So there's really tremendous potential for growth in this market. Second reason is New York City's businesses offer advantages, I think, that no other city can possibly offer. That includes, for example, access to capital. Half the equity traded in the world each day flows through the exchanges in our city. We are one of the world's premier international banking centers, and that includes 3 major Spanish banks with offices in our city. BBVA, Banco Sabadell, and Banco Santander. Together, their New York offices represent more than $12 billion in assets. And New York is also the capital of businesses in the United States. 42 of the nation's Fortune 500 companies are headquarters here, and we're the nation's leading city in legal services, advertising, accounting, fashion, medicine, and other services. Third, we are also a major gateway to the rest of the country. We host more visitors here each year than any other American city. Last year, we set a new record with 52 million visitors to our city, and we're on course to hit our goal of 55 million annually before the year 2015. And out of those, 11 million are international visitors, which is by far the largest number of coming into of any city in the United States. And I'm delighted to report that we're welcoming more and more travelers from España. Between 2005 and 2011, the number of visitors to New York from Spain nearly doubled to, we think, something like 400,000 a year. And that's in part a tribute to our city's tourism and marketing agency, NYC & Company, which maintains an office in Madrid that actively promotes Spanish tourism to New York. And I might also point out that we have a New York City police officer posted to Madrid. We have police officers in all the major cities and around the world so that we can find out what goes on, best practices, and how we can all prevent terrorism, something that we're all subject to. During 2012, more than 276,000 international flights went through New York City area airports. That's an increase of something like 30% since 2000, and that includes 12 daily passenger flights between our city and destinations in Spain. Commerce from Spain to New York is also on the rise. Last year, we estimate something like $821 million in goods were imported from Spain. Everything from aircraft parts to handmade artwork passed through our city, and that's something like an increase of 144%, we think, from 2009. And the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership that the Obama administration has proposed holds out promise of increasing the flow of goods and services between the U.S. and all of the countries in the EU. From New York's point of view, this would be especially beneficial in the areas in which our economy is particularly strong, such as information technology and in the production of pharmaceutical products. In addition to the freer movement of goods and services, I think we have a shared strong interest in freer movement of people as well, and I just wanted to close my remarks this morning with a few thoughts under that heading. As I'm sure many of you know, the United States Congress is preparing to take up a comprehensive proposal to reform our nation's immigration laws, something that is long overdue, and it will be a big boost to our economy, and I think to the economy of our trading partners as well. I mentioned New York's economic vibrancy. It is no coincidence that some 40% of the people that you will see on the streets of our city were born outside of the United States. 40% of the people that live here, not their parents, but they were born outside the United States. It really is a very diverse city. We also live as a mixture rather than as a mosaic, and that's also one of the great strengths of our cities. Studies show that cities like New York that have sizable immigrant populations economically outperform American cities that don't. And if you look at the picture when it comes to innovation in our economy, something like at the top 10 patent-generating American universities, 76% of all patents had a foreign-born inventor, each immigrant with an advanced U.S. degree in science, technology, engineering, and math creates something like 2.6 new American jobs. And 5 years from now, there will be something like 230,000 unfilled jobs in science and engineering in our nation. We just have to fill that if we're going to keep our economy going. And that is after every qualified American is hired. The sad truth is today that our immigration policy in this country is on the wrong side of global competition for students and entrepreneurs, and I've called our current policies national suicide, and that's why I've co-founded something called the Partnership for a New American Economy, which is working on immigration reform. And our members of that coalition include mayors of U.S. cities with more than 35 million people nationwide, and business leaders of companies that employ more than 4 million people across all sectors of our economy. And we are urging actively Congress to pass reform legislation this year, and we will hopefully, we are hopeful that it will. We really care very much about this. Thank you all for coming here. As I said, enjoy the city. When you walk around the city, it is very diverse. You are phenomenally safe here. We have a lower crime rate than we've ever had in the history of our city, and the highest life expectancy that we've ever had. And incidentally, if you have friends that live any other place in America and you really care about them, our life expectancy is 3 years greater than the rest of this country. You might want to have them move here. God bless and thank you.